What we did like is, we get that goal disallowed, rightfully so. We didn't lose our composure. We get a call that's not a call, right? It's phantom, and I'm hot for a minute. The players are a little bit, but then they talked about, okay, who cares, and so that was exciting for us, is that we were able to hold our composure in those areas, because it's going to happen, right? You're going to get a bad call, you're going to get a bad break, and our group did not, and that's what the season's for. We've hopefully learned from many experiences early in the season as well.
Indeed, they have hopefully done exactly that. Welcome to Judd's Hockey Show. Zolgad and Declan Goff, Dean Everson, Wild head coach, talking about a 3-2 overtime victory. Erikkson Ek scoring on a breakaway in overtime off a Kirill Kaprizov feed to give the Wild 4 consecutive wins now since they were embarrassed here in this building at the X 6-2 by the Nashville Predators back on the 13th of March. And Dex, I'm going to start you off with this, because lots of talking points off tonight's game. But in that loss to the Predators I just referenced, the Wild lost 6-2, gave up 6 goals. They were hemorrhaging goals at that time, really struggling defensively. Since then, they've beaten the Blackhawks. The Bruins, the Blackhawks, the Golden Knights, and tonight a Canucks team that got off to a terrible start, but actually is a pretty good team and offensively has talent. And in those now 4 games, Dex, they have given up a total of 5 goals. I think the key here is it might not be sexy. It might not be always aesthetically pleasing. But what we have really seen in these last 4 games is they shift back towards a style of hockey that's much more conducive to playoff success. And that is at least cutting down substantially on the goals against.
Yeah, the goaltending has been phenomenal, right? And look, what do we talk about? Marc-Andre Fleury's influence. If you can read between the lines a little bit there, obviously Cam Talbot's been phenomenal these last 2 starts. You got to tip your cap to him. And yeah, has it been the sexiest of hockey? No. Are you figuring out ways to win games? Yes. Are you not letting bad refereeing absolutely shipwreck you? No. That's why I played that Dean clip, because, yeah, bad calls happen. They happen in the NBA. They happen in the NHL. They happen in football. God knows how many times they happen in baseball. That's going to happen. Right. But at the same time, I thought it was very impressive how the Wild were still able to be resilient. This kind of felt like that old school Wild, right? Like even though they blew a lead in the 3rd period and it forces overtime, they're still opportunistic and resilient enough to come through and get 2 points. And look, every point counts right now. After that slide they went on, Judd, in February into the early parts of this month of March, they lost a lot of ground in that Western Conference standings and lost a lot of cushion, I should say, not ground, but lost a lot of cushion. And now you need these points back. And this is a big homestand that they're on. They're in the middle of it, and they're getting 2 points apiece. This is everything you could ask for. It was a very impressive win for the Wild tonight.
So we know, in fact, Dean said tonight in his postgame remarks that Marc-Andre Fleury will make his debut with the Wild on Saturday against Columbus. The Wild plays Saturday, Sunday here at home in the midst of this 9-game homestand you just talked about. Marc-Andre Fleury is going to make his debut Saturday against the Blue Jackets. That being said, could I make a case that the Marc-Andre Fleury trade acquisition already has paid off? Cam Talbot has been challenged, and a guy like Cam Talbot at this point in his career, I see no downside here. Like, if he collapses under the weight of, oh my God, they acquired, a future Hall of Fame goaltender, well, then he's not for you, right? So I actually think that these past 2 games, and he was starting to find himself big time before this as well, because to be fair, he is now won, I believe, it is 7 consecutive starts. But that being said, I think now that with Talbot being challenged, and certainly I think people like us talking about, Marc-Andre Fleury, the flower, as Sloth says there, clearly is the top goaltender, and Fleury and Talbot slots in behind him. My point is, I love the challenge here, because what it does is it provides what I would call healthy competition, because there's no downside. There's no, Marc-Andre Fleury has a big ego and he's here to push Cam Talbot out. This is very much a team thing. To go back to what we've talked about, Dex, for probably a month now, Marc-Andre Fleury in the room is beloved. So, this is a good guy, Hall of Fame player. And again, I don't see a downside to these 2 both playing. And if Cam, is taken aback a bit, challenged a bit, I think that's fantastic. I think that's great.
Goaltenders are strange, man. Judd, how many times have we said it? These are the shows where I do miss our counterpart, Lindsey Brown, LB, killing it down in Vegas right now because she'd be able to break all this down, and she's doing a great job in Vegas too. But this goaltenders are strange human beings, and Talbot, in his first season with the Wild, exceeded his expectations. He played not above his head necessarily, but played well. Well. Thought he played well in the playoff series against the Golden Knights, and then as I kind of warned and forecasted about going into the offseason and beginning of the year that regression is going to come here. Like, he has never really strung together 3 consecutive years, and let alone 2 consecutive years of very strong play like that. And he did. He regressed a little bit. Now, it's kind of funny that it felt a lot like this isn't the case as much as it was in baseball as like it used to be, but it felt like starting pitcher wins, right? Like, Talbot was getting wins, but he was getting run support. He wasn't the reason the team was getting the victory necessarily. He gets credit for it, the W in his standings and in the box score, and that's all gravy. But he definitely wasn't carrying the Wild to victories. And now you get Marc-Andre Fleury in the room, and I know Lafleur will make his debut this weekend, despite Cam Talbot being on an absolute roll, right, Judd? I mean, that's what the phenomenal thing. If this was if MAF, Marc-Andre Fleury, the Flower, the nicknames are just all over the place right now. If he was not here, damn well that Dean would be turning things to Talbot. This is the luxury you have. You have the reigning Vezina winning goaltender, one of the most decorated goaltenders of all time, as the guy behind him. And now he can come in, and it's not a slap in the face to Cam. It's not a disrespectful move to Cam. This is a luxury. This is a luxury you have, that now you have Marc-Andre Fleury to back him up. Because it's one Marc-Andre Fleury, even though he hasn't played a damn game yet. One is Marc-Andre Fleury. No matter what Talbot's done in the last 2 weeks, he is the number one goalie. He has that pedigree, and I think Cam even knows that. But the beautiful thing of this is it doesn't force Cam Talbot to be the guy. It doesn't force Cam to be the guy. If Cam has to start a playoff game, say maybe MAF doesn't get off to a great start, and you got to start Talbot, well, now you have evidence that shows that, all right, maybe Talbot can stabilize these things. These are good problems to have if you're a Wild fan.
And this is going to be a very interesting case, Dex, to see what Dean Evason does here too. Because I get the sense, and I got this sense in the post game after the Golden Knights game a couple of nights ago too. I really think that Dean is going to continue to play Cam, at least until the playoffs start, quite a bit. I think he's defensive, and I don't say this in a bad way. I think he's defensive of Cam because he knows that Cam has played pretty damn well for long stretches. I think Dean is also very protective of players who have been good for him. And so I'm not trying to say that the Flower is not going to play a lot, but with Capo, it seemed to be the sort of like, do we really know about Capo? Like, Dean always seemed to be sort of, and I get why. And Cam was clearly the number one guy. No question there. I think now what we're going to see is probably Cam Talbot playing more than we expect because I think Dean feels somewhat indebted to him. And I don't know that with the way Cam Talbot is playing, that Dean feels like Cam has lost his job. And so I think it's going to be a balancing act, which, by the way, I'm fine with. I think both guys should play. Now, when the playoffs start, I think you probably have to pick a guy. And it's going to be, I would guess, Marc-Andre Fleury. But that being said, I don't think the Marc-Andre Fleury Cam Talbot rotation is going to work like the Capo Cam did, which is, I'm with you totally. That was, if Cam's playing well, Capo's going to watch almost every game.
This isn't a situation, let me compare it to Vegas last year, where you had Marc-Andre Fleury and Robin Lehner splitting time in the postseason last year. And I believe both of them won the Jennings Trophy. So naturally, both of them were able to get looks. Both of them were good goaltenders. It's what forced Vegas' hand to deal Marc-Andre Fleury for nothing this offseason. And now it goes to show also how just volatile goaltending is. Vegas loses Lehner, and their playoff hopes are on life support right now. But also, the thing that I've always liked about Cam in the limited time, and we've only been able to experience post-game pressers with him this season, even though it's his second season in here. You and I were able to go in that locker room a lot pre-Cam Talbot era, and the other two goaltenders in Dubnyk and Stalock, a very self-aware guy.
Yeah.
Very jolly guy, a big guy in the locker room. He was loved. He was funny. He was charismatic. He would go on radio hits. He was a good dude. I wish him all the best, and he was fine. But he also knew his game. He knew who he was in that tandem, right?
Yes.
And I don't mean to be disrespectful here, but you didn't get that vibe towards the end of the Dubnyk era from Devin. And there seemed to be a little bit of conceitedness that I felt. And I don't know if I'm the only one who feels that. I don't mean to speak for him there, but I felt that there was a conceitedness to his game. I don't see that from Camp. I didn't see that from him when we had the press conference on Monday. When you bring in someone like Marc-Andre Fleury and Cam Talbot, who's again a nice goaltender, and at its peak plays as well as Devin Dubnyk played at his peak when he was here with the Wild. But the off the ice, the little awareness stuff you have to have as a goalie and as a teammate, I think Cam Talbot provides in much bigger dividends than Devin Dubnyk provided.
I can't figure out if Dubnyk, because I know exactly what you're saying and I don't disagree with it. I can't figure out if Dubnyk got sort of caught up or eaten up by the atmosphere with that team too, because there did seem to be just a across the board entitlement of a lot of guys, right? Parise, Suter, Koivu, I thought, Dubnyk for sure. If this team had gone out and traded for Marc-Andre Fleury with Dubnyk, I think it would have been taken aback. What are you doing? How can you do this to us? I mean, what are you doing? Cam Talbot does not put off that vibe at all. Like Cam Talbot, I think there's a lot of pride there. I think he was probably not the happiest camper for himself, but I also don't think you got any of that air of these guys screwed up. I think what you got is I'm challenged, which, by the way, is exactly what Bill Guerin wants. Like, if this is done right, this is why you had to, and people don't get this, this is why you had to tear down the roster, basically, Declan, to rebuild the culture. Because think about the culture now. This culture is all about, hey, we are going to do what's best for the Wild. And if it's not best for the player, too bad. Too bad. I mean,
there's no room for petty bull.
Yeah, look, tonight, Kulikov got scratched. Healthy scratch, okay? I didn't think he'd be scratched. I thought John Merrill would be. Goligoski probably should be. Kulikov got scratched. I was really, really surprised. But again, they're making decisions based on what they feel is best for one entity, and that is their team. So, like, this is a different world, and this is why you sometimes have to purge large portions of your team to rebuild a culture. Because, look, Cam Talbot in the old world probably would have looked around and been like, I'm getting screwed, and so-and-so is doing his deal, right? And he's doing his deal, and why am I getting screwed? That's not how this works now, and that's why I like this team. And we had a comment that you put up a short while ago, Dex, from Tim, saying that no matter who you have to go through, this is going to be a complete grind, and he's right. I mean, the West is going to be hell, which makes it fun. But we are seeing, in my opinion, right now, we are already seeing playoff games right now. Like tonight was a playoff game. It was physical. It was chippy. It was, again, it was fun to watch, but I wouldn't call it super sexy. It was a playoff game. And like, we are seeing what the West is going to provide, and make no mistake, it's going to be a grind. Like, you're not going to luck your way to the Western Conference Finals. You're going to have to play hard, damn good, physical, gutty hockey. And I do think that this team, from a standpoint of its culture and of its mindset, can do that. I'm not sure that they can win based on some, things like if you meet the Avs, for instance. But I have no doubt that this team is now built and geared around being able to mentally process this. And that is a huge part, because I can tell you, for a long time, this franchise didn't come close to meeting that threshold.
Couple things here. I want to highlight Robert's comment that there's still some scoring issues here. Before I do that, though, I just want to let the audience know. Hit the subscribe button right here on this YouTube channel, Daily Minnesota Sports Entertainment. We're getting close to the playoffs. This is Judd Zolgad. I'm Declan Goff. This is Judd's Hockey Show. We like to do some post games when it's convenient to us. And when we get the playoffs started, we'll actually turn this into an event line program. So if you're familiar with our Purple Daily program, we turned that over to you guys. We'll bring you on the screen with us. We'll talk about the games. We had a 7-game series last year with Vegas. We're obviously not hoping for a 7-game series this year necessarily. We're hoping for multiple playoff runs and more games. So if you're interested, hit the subscribe button for Daily Minnesota Sports sports entertainment right here on this channel. Also, a shout out to our friends at Chill Boys. It's a Minnesota-based company. It's the most comfortable underwear on the planet. Judd's at the X right now. He's got a fresh haircut, but really where he's the most comfortable is below the belt in his bamboo fabric.
Don't
He's
talk
not
about
going to
too
show
much.
you that.
No, I'm not. I'll show you my hair.
Check him out. It's a Minnesota-based company, chillboys.com.
And guess what? Declan Goff today, Judd went and weighed in with his friends at the Minnetonka location. Livia Weight Control Center is down to 201 pounds. That's right. Started at 239. I am now 201. The weight continues to come off. And as summer approaches, believe me, folks, you can change your life. You can change your weight. And all of those clothes that you have right now that don't fit, they can fit again. And I have an offer for you, 25% off the program and 35 meals for free. That's right, 25% off the program and 35 meals for free consultations, either in person or if you're outside the state, you can do them virtually now. livea.com, livia.com, 855-GO-LIVEA, livia.com. But again, if you are watching us from Florida, if you're watching us from Iowa, if you're watching us from Nashville, and you say, Judd's lost all that weight, how can I do that? Because if Zolga can do it, I can. And you're right about that. Livia.com. Back to you.
I want to highlight here Robert's comments. Still have some scoring issues, people. And here's the thing. To the point of Judd was just talking about having some scoring issues sometimes. I'm just going to give you a little mute microphone there, Judd. Having some scoring issues sometimes here. This is going to happen in the playoffs. This is where you have to make your hay a little bit because your offense will go quiet. Now, coincidentally, it was Cam Talbot in goal tonight, not Marc-Andre Fleury. This is what I was trying to forecast and what you and I have tried to warn the audience of. There's going to be nights where your offense is quiet. Now, hey, did they get a big goal from their superstar in Kirill Kaprizov tonight? Hell yeah, they did. Great shot there in the first period. And then did they get another timely goal from my guy, Kevin Fiala? Absolutely. And then when they needed an overtime winner, who was it that steps up? It's Joel Erikkson Ek. It's someone on the secondary scoring that lifts you up. These are the kind of games you're going to win. You're not going to win those 6-3, 7-4 dogfights. And by the way, we've seen the Wild do that a ton this year. We've seen the Wild win big, crooked number games. That's not going to happen in the playoffs. How you win tonight is how you win in the playoffs, which is a 3-2 grind fest. Now, I would not love the Wild to be blowing third period leads in the postseason necessary, but again, that's probably going to happen in a game or two. So how do you react to that adversity? And tonight, in the Wild side, in a non-playoff game, although it felt like it, they were able to be victorious, and that's a good recipe for what things could come when you happen to get to the playoffs.
The name of the game is resiliency. Because you are going to blow leads, your leads, you are not going to what you're saying, Declan, you're not going to pull away and be up by 4. You might once, but I mean, in the playoffs, the reason why the Wild went out at the deadline and acquired a big defenseman and a big wing is because they're going to have to grind teams down. They are going to have to, if you play the Avs, you don't want games to be 6-5. You do not want that. You want it 3-2, and you want to frustrate them and grind them down. And in the game itself, not from a fighting standpoint, you want to beat them up. And that's what this team can do now. And that was, look, I actually think tonight's a big step because tonight was the first night that they had all of their new components playing aside from in goal. And Declan, we saw a game that I thought tonight the Wild physically could engage completely. And Vancouver, you know, they can hit. They want to hit. And I really felt up until now, if you hit Foligno, he would strike back. Greenway. But the defense core was small. And if you hit their fourth line, they were fast but not big. That's changing now. So I do think tonight is the blueprint for the type of games that the Wild wants to engage in. And that is we can physically go toe-to-toe. We'll score 3 or 4 goals, hopefully, but that's it. You're right. This is not going to turn into if you get into a playoff series with the Avs and it turns into a track meet, it might be fun to watch, but you're done in 5 games. You're not going to win that. So yeah, I mean, get ready for it to be entertaining. I think there'll be some speed there, but it's going to be, for the most part, ugly. And that's how this is going to be played. You're exactly right. To your guy, Fiala, I was impressed tonight. I was really impressed. A goal. I was just going. I'm +1, 4 shots. He seemed engaged, and we saw this. I think he had a couple of nice plays, if not one, on the penalty kill against the Golden Knights, and he did again. He had a beautiful, beautiful play on the penalty kill tonight, at which he commandeered the puck, and then basically circled, kept it, and then passed it off. But he ate up, I would say, Dax, a good 15 seconds. Kevin Fiala looked really good, and I don't know if he's going to be back in 2022-23. I somehow doubt that. But as far as the playoffs go, I really like where Kevin Fiala's game stands right now. And tonight was the exact type of game that I think, if you are looking at the most realistic, optimal Fiala game, tonight we probably saw that. By the way, a physical game too. Guys like him can disappear. He didn't. He played really well, I thought.
The Goudreau Fiala Boldy line was, I thought, their best line tonight. Analytically, that backs that up. They were beasts on the ice, creating chances and not allowing shots. Fiala, with a nice goal here tonight, now 21 goals after that cold start that he had to the season. We'll see if he gets to 30. But at the same time, this is him. He's a dynamic player. When he's on, man, he is almost as noticeable as Kirill Kaprizov. He is. Yeah, I'm not trying to say he makes the same impact, because he doesn't.
I mean, Kirill Kaprizov was incredible again. But yes, he's a really good player.
My point is the dynamic games dynamic plays that he can bring is up there with Kirill. Yeah, Kirill on his worst night is still a lot better than 90% of the league. But I'm saying that dynamic, the salt to the pepper that is Fiala to Kaprizov, is what I'm trying to transpire there. And you're going to get games, because we saw it in Vegas last year, where Kaprizov gets shut down. So who else can step up? And with Kaprizov and Fiala not on the same line, which is something I was advocating for earlier this season, now that you don't have to have that luxury and you can spread out the wealth a little bit with him and Boldy, those guys have to step up. Those are your secondary scoring. So yeah, Fiala, when he is on, is a noticeable player on the ice. He's extremely noticeable in mostly positive ways, and he can make you pull your damn hair out. That's who he is sometimes. But tonight, I thought, like you said, this was the type of game where you have a playoff feel to him. And obviously Kirill, who has an amazing shot and one of the most talented playmakers in the entire NHL, scores the first goal of the game and gets the Wild cooking. That's great. But you also need guys like Fiala and Boldy, Zuccarello, to step up when you also need them if your superstar is not going to show up. And that's how you win in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And I think so Fiala scored the Wild's second goal tonight that gave them a 2-1 lead in the second period. And I like that goal especially because it came off the faceoff. I think Goudreau got the puck on net. The save was made by Demko. He kicked it out, and Fiala was right there. And I love that too. So this was not like a flashy goal. Like I thought Fiala's game tonight reeked of a playoff game. Like, it was not a flashy night. It was a night where he was dedicated to actually working. I don't know that I would call his goal greasy, but I certainly would not call it sexy or flashy. So I like that. As I said, Fiala tonight was credited with 4 shots on goal. Kirill Kaprizov had 5. I'm going to give you an interesting stat here when it comes to the shots on goal too, Declan. And I like this a lot. No points tonight, but in 24:09 of ice time, Matt Dumba had 6 shots. He was firing at will. And I'm going to tell you right now, if he does that, he'll score some goals. Yeah. Like, the Dumba thing is very weird. It's very up and down, and I think at times it's frustrating. But we've talked about this for 2 years now. Matt Dumba needs to shoot. That shot is lethal. That shot can be tipped. That shot can create havoc. 6 shots on goal to me is really good news. And that's the exact type of thing, because eventually those are going to start to either go in or, if nothing else, get tipped in.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need him to be back on his game. And I thought tonight too, he had a very strong performance. His type of physicality is needed in the playoffs, but also what he brings as an offensive defenseman who can kind of jump into the game and make his offense known is very important to the team too. I think this is rhetorical, and I think I know what you'll say, but I'm curious on what you thought of Middleton's debut with Spurgeon. Analytically, they were disaster tonight, and I didn't expect Middleton to just step in here and be
I've got takes.
Spurgeon's new partner.
I got takes.
And I think that'll take some time, so I'm not ready to pull the rug on Middleton and Spurgeon. It'll take a little bit. He just got here yesterday, but I'm curious, with you being in person, what you thought of his game.
I got takes here. I got takes for days. First of all, I like the size, okay? I like the size. I like the trade based on they needed a guy who looks like this, and Jordy Ben to me just can't really play. That being said, Middleton I thought might be a good partner for Spurgeon, but he's not. He's got the size. He can't really skate. At least what I saw tonight. Now, this is one game. So all of you kids out there, I know you're saying right now, sports dad, small sample size, go bleep yourself. Travis is right. He got off to a rocky start. I thought he looked better. He is not a good skater. Like he just is not. That doesn't mean he can't play. That probably means he's not the best fit with Spurgeon because Spurgeon can really move. But I don't think Spurgeon can do this by himself. Now the question becomes: Did he not have a good game because he's not going to be a good player, or was this his debut? There were nerves at work being put with Spurgeon. It's great, but it's a big ask. I think all of those things have to be factored in, and my guess is that they'll run them back against Columbus again. But I don't know that that's the greatest pairing. I do think that Middleton brings size and physical ability that definitely translates, and he should play. I don't know that they've got him in the right place. That being said, I will tell you again what I talked about near the top of the show. The decision to scratch Kulikov really surprised me. I thought it'd be Merrill. I thought it might be Goligoski. I didn't think, and I might be wrong here, and correct me if you think that you see it differently. I haven't seen Kulikov do anything of late that I thought he should be the healthy scratch. I think he deserves to play again on Saturday. How is he a left-handed shot or right-handed?
Look it up quick.
Kulikov, because I would almost be more tempted to put him with Spurgeon and Middleton.
He's a left shot,
and Spurgeon's a right shot, so that would actually work. And I would be tempted to put Middleton in there, but on the third defensive pair. The thing that I came away with tonight is I don't know that that's as good a fit as I potentially thought.
Yeah,
you?
I think you're the odd man out, the three that are going to be maybe played with here. And what I am curious is are they, and I don't want this to be the case because I love what Guerin and Evison have built with their culture. I wonder if they're a little scared to scratch Goligoski.
They are, because he's coming up on, and I'm the messenger, okay? So don't yell at me.
Oh, God.
He's coming up on 1,000 games.
That's why.
Yes.
That's why.
They would scratch him outside of that. And it doesn't really, well, the problem is that doesn't, I understand the allegiance to that. He's a local guy. I get all of that, but I don't know that's the one thing that doesn't necessarily fit what I talked about earlier on the show, which is this is largely all about the team and not about accomplishments. But I can tell you, I've been flat out told by people that he is nearing 1,000 games and they want him to get there. Otherwise, I think he would be scratched. But I just don't think Kulikov's the right guy to scratch.
No,
that's my personal
Merrill.
Opinion. Yeah,
I'd
scratch John Merrill before I scratch. And now the question becomes: Are they putting too much on 1,000 games for Alex, because so much of what's being done this season, and I agree with this completely, is about the franchise itself, about the team itself, and not about accomplishments. That's a debate as well. But yeah, Middleton should play. I think he brings an element that they can really use. I don't know that they have the right role or the right pairing for him yet.
Okay, so right now Goligoski is at 981. I'm trying to scroll. 981. So he is 19 games away from.
And they've got about 20.
1,000.
They got about 20 games left, right?
Plus 20 plus 4 is 62.
This was game 62, so they've got 20. They have 20 left. So he's going to play the rest of the season. But then the question becomes: in the playoffs, do you start scratching him?
Yeah. Yeah, but
And if you're going to do that, are you really doing yourself a service by getting him to 1,000 games? I mean, that's a debatable. That can be debated.
I mean, he's going to play
I'm not
next
going to.
year.
Yeah.
Probably not here, to be honest.
Well,
But
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm a fan of everything being centered or focused on the crest, and then say, but there's this one guy trying to reach a milestone. I mean, the reality is this year is about trying to do the most that you can for this team. So that sort of does fly in the face of that, because yes, I do think that he would be the logical guy to scratch.
Yeah,
It's
I think that's what'll probably happen. I'm not ready to give up on Middleton and Spurgeon. I didn't see them. You were there tonight.
Well, I'm just saying I don't know it's the right pairing. It's 3 periods of hockey. I don't know yet.
Yeah,
I don't know
love
yet.
line combinations on the show.
But Middleton, but as AFC Young says there, Middleton did a good job in front of Cam at cleaning out the crease more. And one of the things that bothers me the most about this league now is the amount of guys who are allowed to stand without any repercussions in front of the goaltender and just screen him.
Mm-hmm.
Like I that drives me crazy. I understand that the days of cross-checking are done, that you can't go throw guys down like the old days. I get all of that, but when we're watching what amounts to a playoff style game, and some Yahoo can just go stand there and screen the goaltender, like literally just stand right in front and nothing happens, it drives me crazy. So if you have a player who can physically move a guy and not take a penalty, I am not scratching that guy.
No.
Like I want that guy because I want those guys. I mean, Dex, it's a guy like Ryan Hartman now can go stand there. Mm-hmm. He's a wee little guy. Back in the day, he would have got killed.
Is it last as we wrap up here?
I got more notes.
He has 26 goals now. I don't mean to say it's hollow, but is it going to be one of the most hollow 30 goals scored? Not. I don't want to use.
I don't know about that.
It's not hollow
because
he got off to such a great start.
Like, are you not impressed or?
It's just so unexpected for me. It just it was so incredibly. I don't mean hollow. That was a bad first.
But it probably won't happen. But it probably won't take place again. And
no.
I mean, yes, it's a big surprise. But keep in mind, young Declan, I watched the North Stars with Nick Bukestad's uncle, I believe, Scotty, and he was a former Gopher as well. And in like 83, 84, around then, I believe he scored 42 goals.
Wow.
He had never gotten close to that before that. And believe me, he never did again. So like that was one of the most, oh my God, what is up with this? He got, but Dex, the big thing is this. If you're good enough to spend a year on the right line, it's amazing what your stats can do. And where Dean gets credit for that is, I'm telling you right now. So the Wild went from Jacques Lemaire to Todd Richards to Mike Yeo to Torch for a hot tick to Boudreau and now to Dean, right?
Yep.
They have never had a coach until now, 21 years in? They have never had a head coach who keeps lines together like this guy.
It's true. It's a good point.
Like never. Everybody else, I mean, Jacques mid-game loved to screw with lines. Everybody else, and I think the rule of thumb around the league now is to, hey, our line's not playing well. Second period, let's switch that line up. If you look now, though, these lines are kept together like it's the 80s. And to me, that's where Hartman benefits huge because it's not like, well, he started to struggle, so now he's on the fourth line. It's no, he started to struggle. He's going to remain there. And I think that's the absolutely the most imperative thing to his success is if he's playing poorly, he's allowed to get out of that slump. And when you're playing with Kaprizov and Zuccarello, guess what? If you get hot, you're going to score some goals. So I think that's the difference.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference.
He's been impressive this year. So
I got a couple more stats for you. Hits tonight. Foligno 7, Deslauriers 7.
Okay.
Fourth line pickup. I love this.
He's
I
awesome.
love third round pick too, but I mean, okay, so he's not a great player. He's not he doesn't skate great. Who cares? But Deslauriers to me is a playoff player. The only thing tonight, and I know he's trying to set a tempo, and I appreciate it. This is not a criticism. Marcus Foligno, you don't have to fight as much now. He got in a fight right away, early on, and it's
Did you
like,
see
dude, you don't need to do that anymore.
Deslauriers was on the bench kind of chuckling to himself? I
Yes,
don't know.
I saw
That could have been.
But it was Luke Shannon.
Multiple
He got
things.
into it. But
Yeah.
but the fact is, Deslauriers here to do that. Like, if you want a spark, and I know Foligno is trying to help, and I know that he basically, I think he feels that in a lot of ways, physically, he's the heartbeat of this team, and he's, not entirely wrong. But I don't want you in the box for 5. You are too valuable now. And Marcus on the PK decks tonight was fantastic.
Yeah,
His stick was great. I mean, this guy has become far too valuable a player. And I am not saying that he shouldn't hit guys. He absolutely should. And yes, he's going to take some penalties. But when it comes to the scrapes and the fights, Deslauriers to me is your guy. I want Marcus Foligno on the ice as much as possible. He's a guy who I don't think it's a fluke. I think he has developed himself into a really good, valuable player. And the physicality is fantastic. I love that. But the more time he's in the box, I think actually the more time it hurts this team. And playoff-wise, if there's a scrap to be had, I want Deslauriers for 5, not Foligno.
You're right. Yeah, no, and look, Deslauriers has been awesome. He's this it kind of reminds me of when they got Chris Stewart the first time. A nice physical guy that can beats people up and adds nice little energy to the team that's needed. He's gonna make his money during the playoffs. He definitely is.
All right, I got a question for you, because it reared its ugly head again tonight. What do you do about faceoffs? 25 wins in the circle, 39 losses. Erikkson Ek tonight, he won 6 and lost 19. What do you do about that?
Yeah. I mean, I hate to be this person, but there isn't anything you can do. Hartman can't win a draw. Ek isn't.
In fact,
great
let me
at
go
winning
through.
draws.
Let me go
Hartman's
through.
like 43. Hartman is legitimately one of the worst statistical face-off winners in the NHL this season.
Hartman was won 6 and lost 9. The only player that they had who won the majority of his draws was Gaudreau, won 10 and lost 4. Tyson Jost, who replaced Sturm, who was actually their best face-off guy. That's the one thing where Sturm's going to be missed a little bit.
Yeah.
Tyson Jost won 3 and lost 5. But again, Ek, who should be better than this, that's the one I don't get. 6 wins and 19 defeats in the circle, and the Wild 25 and 39. That's playoff-wise, that concerns me.
It's concerning, Judd, but
I mean, you're right.
You have to be situational about it at this point. Like, there isn't anything you can do. Like, there's legitimately nothing you can do to make them a better face-off team than they are right now. You just can't. But can you be situationally better when you need a big win in the defensive or offensive zone, when it matters the most? That's when it's going to matter. The only time when you look at the lopsided face-off issues is, look, they won the night, right? They won the night being completely getting their asses kicked in the dot.
Right.
You're going to look at it, and it's only going to be also the reasons you lost, like 3rd, 4th, 5th down the list of why you lost.
So I think if you're playing Colorado, it concerns me more because puck possession to them could kill you. I think against the Canucks, who are skilled and talented, but not the Avs, it doesn't concern me as much. So I guess it depends a little bit on the opponent. I don't know, because that was the one place that we really thought pre the goaltending going south to a certain point that they would get somebody that could win draws, and ultimately they actually traded away in Sturm the guy who was best at draws. So I don't know there. That's the one thing though that I know it's not, lots of people think, it's face-offs, who cares? And I get that. But if you're in a playoff series and you're playing the Avs and it's a key draw and the Avs get possession, that's not a good thing. So, all right, I think we're done, sir. And at least right now, the Blues suffered a terrible defeat to the Flyers. So the Wild is in second place.
Heyo.
All alone. I think Nashville is playing Vegas right now. But the Wild has games in hand. So Nashville could jump the Blues and bump the Blues into, I believe, wild card spot 1, and Nashville would tie the Wild in points, but the Wild wins the tiebreaker because they played 2 or 3 fewer games than the Predators. So,
Okay.
All right. We will have plenty more tomorrow. Mackie and Judd, I'm sure we'll touch on this game a bit there. Purple Daily, all that good stuff. As always, we appreciate you tuning in to Judd's Hockey Show. I'm at the X. Dex is at home. And most importantly, we're going to leave you with these words of wisdom from Wild GM Bill Guerin. Dex.
Listen, you guys know what this is all about, right? Right? What's it all about? Spurgey?
Hard work and having fun.
That. This is about winning.
Pass, shoot, score.